I'm Stephen Metcalf, and this is the Slate Culture Gabfest. The Rock goes for the Oscar edition. It's Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. On today's show, The Smashing Machine is a biopic about the pioneering Ultimate Fighter Mark Kerr. It stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose delicately layered performance arguably places him in the Oscar mix. Also stars Emily Blunt as his wife. It's directed by Benny Safdie. And then Hulu FX gives us a shaggy, craggy Ethan Hawke in a shaggy, craggy dog mystery, The Lowdown, from the creator of the marvelous Reservation Dogs. Finally, she's so pretty. She's so perky and promising. She's so non-existent and nauseating and terrifying. She's Tilly Norwood, who's being hawked as the first AI actress, to much backlash, which we will discuss. But joining me first are two people who've laughed at a joke already in the course of making the show. So today I love you. It's Julia Turner of the Annenberg School of Journalism at USC. Hey, Julia.
Hello.
And Dana Stevens, the film critic for Slate. Hey, Dana.
Hello. Nauseatingly non-existent.
You or me?
I don't know. That's our theme for the day.
Okay. Shall we make a show?
The holidays have arrived at the Home Depot, and we're here to help bring the excitement with decor for every part of your home. Check out our wide assortment of easy-to-assemble pre-lit trees so you can spend less time setting up and more time celebrating. And bring your holiday spirit outdoors with unique decor like one of our Santa inflatables. Whatever your style, find the right pieces at the right prices this holiday season at the Home Depot.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
To great effect and much filthy lucre all around, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, after a career as a pro wrestler, has thrived as a kind of live-action cartoon figure for live-action cartoon movies, Fast and Furious, whatever, is now being seriously discussed as a Best Actor candidate for his work in The Smashing Machine. The Rock gives I'm using a lot of qualitative terms that I think we're going to trouble as we go. But for now, let's say he's being credited with a subtle and quietly modulated performance as Mark Kerr. Kerr was one of the pioneers of the ultimate fighting MMA universe that is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. But when Kerr was fighting in the late 90s, it was kind of a nothing sport. It was considered toxic, beyond the pale, a little fringe, and the purses were doled out in cash, right? There was not a lot of money or glory involved. Maybe glory, but not money. Kerr fought because he loved it, even though he himself was something of a largely gentle, thoughtful giant. The movie explores 3 key years in his career in the late 90s during which he fought with drug addiction and his relationship was gravely faltering. The movie co-stars Emily Blunt as his girlfriend, Dawn, and Ryan Bader as his ex-rival and now closest fighting friend. The movie is directed by Benny Safdie, one half of the brother duo who brought us Uncut Gems and other films. The clip we have is from the trailer. It'll give you some sense of the film. In the clip, he's in a doctor's waiting room and he strikes up a conversation with an older woman about the nature of the sport. Let's listen.
Probably looking at my eyes.
How did that happen?
Well, have you ever heard of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC?
That's the bloody thing they're trying to ban.
This guy is the best he has ever seen.
Do you hate each other when you fight?
Absolutely not.
How do you know Mark Kerr?
Oh, we go way back, but he's a buddy of mine.
Come on, baby. Too much?
Never.
Too much?
No.
Please welcome in his Octagon debut, Mark Kerr.
Dana, this is a rare instance where I read your review before talking to you about
I'm
the
honored.
movie. No, you shouldn't be. I mean, I would say that typically I don't read your reviews only because I want our conversation to be as fresh as possible. But tell us what you thought about this movie. You had some really interesting reservations about it.
Yeah, I wonder if the reason you decided to read me this time is because, like me, you didn't quite know what to make of how to reconcile this movie with the conversations about the movie.
Precisely.
And I will say that this movie was not what I expected, that's for sure. I went in thinking this is going to be hard to watch because it will be like Raging Bull or another of those movies about, men beating up on other men that are extremely graphic and brutal and sort of make you care about a character, then watch him get beat to a pulp over and over again, right? I thought it would be hard to watch for that reason, independent of the quality of the performance or the movie itself, that it would just have this like visceral difficulty in tolerating the content. And that was not the case. In fact, there's something so arm's length about the way this movie treats the sport and the character and really the whole story that I never felt emotionally involved enough to really feel like I was in the ring taking the punches with The Rock. And I'm not quite sure that I can blame that on him. Like, I also think that the conversation about this movie having quote unquote Oscar buzz is a result of the fact that there is a very big campaign for the movie and the performance to have Oscar buzz. And that to some degree, by even talking about it in that way, we are playing into that same hype. I mean, I think we have to wait for the rest of the season's Oscar movies and see what people who are actually voting think about this. But the further I get from this movie, the less I like it. I really don't think that it works as either a sports drama or a character study of this particular person or a relationship drama. It feels to me like a movie that is very indebted to other sports movies and other sort of moments that a figure like Dwayne Johnson, who's not thought of as a thespian, sort of steps up to the plate to be a thespian. It didn't even feel like a Safdie brothers movie. And I should mark myself as somebody who is not a huge fan of Uncut Gems or Good Time, the other, I guess, main breakthrough movie of the Safdie brothers. In that I regard them as viscerally effective, like they raise your adrenaline and make your pulse pound without necessarily making you sure exactly what they're about or why they exist, right? But this movie is not a typical Safdie brothers movie in that way. It's the first solo film directing project of Benny Safdie. He's done some TV without his brother, but has not done a big movie. And it doesn't have that, I think, that viscerality and that ability to engage you that their movies do. I too, Steve, was sort of trying to read around thinking, like, why has this movie generally been so well received? Nobody seems to be passionately in love with it, but everybody seems to be like taking it seriously as this prestige movie of the season. And then I read a review by Jacob Aller in the AV Club, a critic I really like, and he pointed out that the documentary this movie's based on, a 2002 documentary also called The Smashing Machine about Mark Kerr, which is impossible to find right now on streaming, or I would have watched it before seeing the movie, is apparently almost shot for shot the same film. Like, for some reason, Benny Safdie just decided to do like a live action remake of a documentary from 2002. So there's something about this whole project that I just feel doesn't ever come together or cohere, and I'm not sure what it's getting at. And I'm not going to say it's a cynical grab for Oscar attention, but I don't feel like it has a lot of integrity as a movie that needs to exist to tell this particular story.
Yeah, Julia, there was bound to be either way. Like, even if he had delivered an astonishing, method-driven performance or an okay, a performance, there was bound to be a lot of great curiosity around what The Rock in a serious dramatic role would look like. And then naturally, probably a large amount of grade inflation because expectations going in would be very low. What were your expectations? How were they met or defied? What did you make of his performance in the movie?
This movie is the opposite of pulse pounding. This movie is extremely boring. I found it to be.
Thank you.
Like,
yes, it is boring.
Why am I so bored by this? Like, there's stakes, there's addiction, there's a sassy Emily Blunt in a series of interesting outfits and fights and other fights, and I love sports movies. The further away I get from seeing this movie and the more I read about it, the more I feel almost indignant on The Rock's behalf, because I actually think The Rock has done something. I think the performance is good and the transformation is interesting. Like, the more you learn about this character and how he actually speaks and how he actually moved and the work that The Rock did to embody the vocal patterns, like there is some uncanniness to it. But the movie, there's no reason for him to have done all that work. Like, there's just it like can't pick a thread. It almost feels like it's too cool to be a sports movie. Like, it's too cool to be a movie that's about a guy who struggles with addiction and falls off and tries to get it back together. I felt like there was a lot of kind of inert remove from the whole scene that just assumes a lot from the viewer, that you like know why this world is interesting, you care, you want to watch this. That was just absolutely not true of me. And I came away almost like angry on The Rock's behalf that like this was his big bet. I think he is a really interesting actor and performer, super charismatic. He's really embodying this kind of different way of being. It's not that different. It's like a big strong guy who's also kind of a charismatic teddy bear, but it's like a different stripe of charismatic teddy bearness. So I understand that it's not like the sort of radical transformation that you see from some actors, but I think it is interesting to watch The Rock work in a more serious register. And I think this movie is like so poorly conceived that I'm frustrated on his behalf for all the wasted work.
Yeah, I mean, they also make what to me was a very strange choice, which was to immobilize his face behind prosthetics, behind some heavy makeup, I guess to make him look more like the real Mark Kerr. But especially if a point of the movie is that there was this kind of weird dissociative quality to Mark Kerr, right? Which is that on the one hand, he could be utterly savage in the ring, right? Utterly merciless, and derived, as he himself said, like a massive dopamine rush from victory. And victory entails like the total physical domination of another man who's also trying to disable you physically with violence. And this kind of gentle giant, this sort of delicately self-achieved, somewhat sensitive, thoughtful, reflective human being, for those contrasts, like you would think an actor would want one of his tools available to him, which is the mobility of his fucking face, but I just thought that was like bizarre choice and ultimately distracting to a purpose I couldn't put my finger on. But the other problem is that this is sort of three underbaked movies in one. It's an addiction recovery movie in which the addiction plot is actually kind of mild. It's like weirdly underplayed and undramatic, and his recovery goes very quick. It sort of sets you up with all the sort of tropes, right, and expectations those come with those tropes. You think that there's going to be a struggle to wean himself from these painkillers, these opioids. You get none of the struggle. He sort of goes into rehab. You see nothing inside rehab. He comes out clean. A domestic drama, which is ultimately banal and weirdly underplayed also and muted. You're right. There's a dissociated, almost underwater quality to a lot of the drama of the movie, which I think mistakes itself for a kind of subtlety or something. I don't know, or verite subtlety or something. And then a sports movie, which indulges in a lot of cliches. I mean, forget tropes, just absolute cliches of the genre, and then ends completely anticlimactically. And what's weird is that you're dealing with a lot of themes, or suggesting or gesturing in the direction of a lot of themes that are utterly current and totally vital, which is the relationship between the civilized aspect of men and the savage aspects of men, and the relationship of violence to authority and personal authority. Like, we're steeped in these on a daily basis, given our current government. And how did you manage to make a movie that has nothing to say about them? There was a minimally interesting 90s style indie movie that I think he was trying to make that itself harkens back to the 70s filmmakers that he venerates, but that he didn't even make, which is what's interesting is that the UFC is now a multi-billion-dollar business, and these people are huge celebrities. They become enormously famous. They are doing it for, if nothing else, the high stakes of global celebrity and riches. And that wasn't true then, right? So it's sort of a period piece about this moment and the oddity of the motivations of doing this kind of fighting as opposed to any other kind of sport or boxing or something more traditional, and what passions are involved and the frustrations of it being, and that was sort of interesting, right? He gets screwed by a ref. The fact that the Japanese appear to really love the sport and are involved in a very sober way in furthering it as a serious sport. All of that anthropology actually is, to me, the most interesting part of the film, and what it's like to be someone who is like the Moses, right? Who gets everyone else to the promised land and then doesn't enjoy its fruits. Like, that to me is an interesting movie. You get a little bit of that, but it's just the multi-directionality of this movie's impulses and how each one ends up thwarted by the other. I walked out both anesthetized and, when the anesthetic wore off, enraged.
Can I just briefly say the two things I think it does well? I actually thought the fights were well shot. Like, I feel like I understood what was happening in the fights in a way that I don't always in boxing movies or movies about like physical conflict in a ring. And you sort of understand. I mean, I'm neither appalled by nor interested in ultimate fighting. Particularly, I've known people who were interested in it. I was like, oh, I kind of get like the way that the fights are shot is kind of interesting and let me follow the film. But then the movie didn't seem that interested in it. Like, what is this form? Why would you be drawn to it? What does it mean that they're changing the rules so that, certain people have advantages and wrestlers don't or whatever? Like they sort of drop in these nuggets that could be thematic or could be worked and then just like leave them lying there. The other thing I will say that I liked is that there's more than 2 real world MMA fighters in the film, but the 2 who we spend the most time with, the trainer Bas Rutten and then the friend played by Ryan Bader, I really enjoyed both of those performances. I saw some reviews of the Bader performance that
like mine
described. Were you one of them? Sorry, I read them all in a big blur. I feel like there was mixed on him. I found him to be like, I don't know, grounded and resonant. I really liked both of those performances and the little glimmers of the actual fighting world, which must be animating the interest in telling this story. Like Safdie must love and care about this world and be obsessed with that documentary to want to remake it shot for shot. And it made me a little wistful about the movie I hadn't seen. Wait, can I also, before we adjourn, I know we're at time, but what was up with the relationship with Emily Blunt and that character? Like I had spent half the time being like, is this movie sexist? Like, why are they making her out to be this like selfish, destructive weirdo? But then it seems like sometimes we're supposed to really root for their love story, but sometimes we're supposed to root against it. And sometimes we're supposed to think it was very wobbly what they were doing with that. And I was like, is this sexist? Is it just badly written? Like, what was happening there? Dana, please explain.
I don't know. I mean, that relationship is one of the many places, and I believe I wrote about this as well, where exactly you don't know what the movie wants you to feel. Like, it doesn't have to be all heroes and villains, but do we want this couple to stay together who's constantly fighting? But they also seem to really have some regard and affection for each other. I don't know. Just like I don't know how the movie feels about ultimate fighting or addiction or any of the big things that it's about. Yeah, there is something, and it's hard to put one's finger on it, but there's something subtly misogynistic in the way that character and specifically that relationship are shown. And I think that it is probably a writing problem more than I don't think there's any sort of like ill intent on the filmmaker's part toward that character. I think that it's this sense that seeing Emily Blunt play a sort of gum-snapping, like, I don't know what to call her, a little bit of a bimbo type, right? I say that lovingly.
Almost like a mall.
Toward bimbo's a mall. Yeah, some sort of character like that.
Glad you said it.
Somebody a little bit like Sharon Stone's character in Casino or something. You know what I mean? Somebody who's like dressing cute for her man and sort of, I don't know, just definitely less sophisticated and sort of, elegant than your typical Emily Blunt character. That in itself is seen as this interesting stretch for the actor without her being given an actual character to play or, interesting lines to interpret. It's all about her costuming and her positioning vis-a-vis Dwayne Johnson. And then these comical fights that they have where they both look sort of ridiculous, right? But he ends up at least coming out of it being this sports champion who's the center of the movie and who we get to watch his training montages or something. She is just kind of mockable in the fights and then disappears from the story. So I don't know what's going on there either. I think that Benny Safdie is so intent on not making certain kinds of movies, like this isn't going to be a cliched sports drama. It's not going to do this. It's not going to do that, that it doesn't ever quite settle on what it does want to do.
I think that's exactly right. I'll add one thing very quickly. I do think, Dana, there's a key sequence where the way it's shot and from the point of view, it sets her up as a Delilah to his Samson at a very key moment in the movie. And I thought unmistakably, I was on the same fence you were, very confused by the filmmaker's intentions. At that moment, I was like, oh, this is sexist. This is terrible, the way that ends up getting played out. Anyway, the movie is The Smashing Machine, stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I don't think we're sending you
Don't do it, guys.
I'm with you, Julia. This is a dud. All right, let's move on.
I told you guys we shouldn't do that movie.
Honestly, I think it was a pretty fun conversation about a bad movie, though.
All right, well, the best season of the year, autumn, is almost upon us. It's still kind of warm here in New York City, but it's only a matter of weeks before the chill sets in, and cooler days call for layers. Quince is a go-to for quality essentials that will feel cozy, look refined, and won't blow your budget. Steve, I know you're a Quince fan. Thinking fall, autumnal, autumn man walking down the street with a pumpkin spice latte, what's your Quince piece?
Break out the Quince. I mean, I adore the 100% organic cotton fisherman crew sweater. It's such a great item. It's been stolen serially by every other member of my household. So I think I now have to order another one, unfortunately. But I'm going to do that without a second thought because I need it in my fall wardrobe. I will also say that there are all kinds of ways to get socks delivered to your door over the internet. And one has got a little bit of sticker shock when it comes to, high quality mail order socks these days. Get that sticker shock out of your head. That's totally unnecessary. Quince is now in the sock business. I ordered a whole bunch, like ankle length, for running, for dress up, they've got them all. And they delivered fabulous, no sticker shock and same quality or higher. It's great.
Find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/culture for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. That's QUINCE.com/culture to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/culture.
Well, now is the moment in the show where we talk about business. We have to tell you about our bonus episode this week, which is available only to Slate Plus subscribers. In this week's Slate Plus episode, we're going to talk about Elizabeth Gilbert, she of Eat, Pray, Love fame. She has a new memoir. It's called All the Way to the River, Love, Loss, and Liberation. We're not talking about the whole book. We're going off of an excerpt of it in The Cut. And also there was a wonderful Elizabeth Gilbert meditation profile in The New Yorker by Gia Tolentino. Really recommend going to that. And we had a rollicking discussion. If you had ponied up, you'd get to listen to it. If you've ponied up, you will listen to it. If you're listening to this feed, it might mean that you are not yet a Slate Plus subscriber. Slate Plus offers a whole host of benefits, including ad-free versions of this show, bonus episode every week for this and a bunch of other Slate podcasts, and of course, the opportunity to read as much as you like on Slate.com. It's also an opportunity to support Slate and our show. I know I say this, don't tune it out. I mean it. We keep the lights on. We keep going. We are able to keep making this show and thrive because of Slate Plus subscribers, especially. So to sign up for Slate Plus and get those benefits, you can go to slate.com/culture plus. And if you sign up there, you give us a little boost as the people who wooed you over. So again, it's slate.com/culture plus. Okay, let's go back to the show. In The Lowdown on Hulu and FX, Ethan Hawke plays Lee Rabun, a colorful local character subsisting along the offbeat fringes of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's a bookstore owner, a rare books dealer, and a writer, a real throwback to the days of print, of alt weeklies, and of old-fashioned muckraking. He has kind of a beat poet vibe and sensibility. He's a beleaguered shit stirrer with a literary bent. When the black sheep from a very powerful local family kills himself, Rabun suspects it's not a suicide, and he begins to investigate. Along the way, he discovers the dead man has left a series of clues about his family's corruptions hidden in the pages of his collection of Jim Thompson first editions. The show was created by Sterlin Harjo, the creator of Reservation Dogs. It also stars Ryan Kira Armstrong as Rabun's daughter. It has a big and wonderful ensemble cast, but I'd like to call out Michael Hitchcock because he's in the clip we're about to hear. He plays an antique dealer friend who Rabun likes to pull into his weird dramas. Let's listen.
So you're here for the books. You're not here to dig up any more dirt.
Well, maybe a little bit of both.
So you write an article about a man's family, and then he kills himself, and then you just show up at the estate sale.
Well, it's not that linear.
Well, you need this. I heard that he was almost broke, Washburg. Definitely the black sheep of that family.
That's what smells so bad. The whole family hates him. All of a sudden, he commits suicide. It doesn't seem a little odd. Or you think I'm crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. He was gay, he was closeted, and he lives in Oklahoma. Man, that'd make me shoot myself twice.
Wait, don't say that, okay? You're captain estate sale. You're dealing dead people's stuff. Come on, help me. Is there a difference between a suicide estate sale and a murder one? Come on, Dale was crazy, private. He was impossible to write about. I couldn't dig up anything on him except that he was always holding up the family's business affairs.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the kids all have to vote unanimously. Dale always votes no, and now Dale is dead.
Julia, let me start with you. This is quite the smorgasbord. I don't know, what is it? It's like overstuffed and shaggy and all over the place. And some people find it immensely charming. Did you?
Oh, I wish I had. Wouldn't that be nice? There's a lot to admire here. It's like building this world. It's set in Tulsa. It's like a Tulsa noir. Ethan Hawke is craggier than ever, and then every 15 minutes of the show someone beats him up and he gets a new crag, and then he's kind of like jauntily capering around underneath his bruises, being pretty charming. I'm an Ethan Hawke fan. I'm a girl of the 90s. I'm not going to say no. There's Gene Triplehorn, there's Kyle MacLachlan, there's a couple of knuckleheads who are supposed to be his security guards fresh out of prison who don't do anything. There's like a whole wild kookalook world. And I found the whole thing to be so kookalook that I didn't really give a shit about any of it. And like it was a little too much. And I actually found myself, I don't know, I had trouble connecting, but I'm concerned that perhaps it was me. And then I will also, there's one performance in it that like laceratingly cut through all of that, which we can come back around to, but it did not quite grab me. And I am curious whether it grabbed either of you.
I'm just going to interject very quickly. I also had one performance that laceratingly cut through and also galvanically sparked what I think is going to be my enduring interest in the show to the very last episode. I'm curious whether it's the same as yours, but pause. Dana.
Yeah, I like this show. I mean, I'm sort of in. It reminds me of, at the stage that I'm at, I've only seen 3 episodes of it and definitely would watch a couple more. It reminds me a little bit of Bad Monkey, that show we discussed, I think, last year with Vince Vaughn, that's set in Florida. It's based on a Carl Hiaasen book. Reminds me of it in the sense that, it has this scruffy charm. It's in an unusual setting that you don't usually see noir set in, right? This kind of, in this case, Oklahoma noir. Sterlin Harjo is not originally from Tulsa, but has lived in Tulsa, I think, the last couple decades of his adult life, and identifies very strongly as a Tulsa guy. And I love the setting and the way that he brings out the character of this very specific town. And yeah, Ethan Hawke is born to play this kind of role. This is a very late career Ethan Hawke, right? He's played John Brown in a TV show, which I haven't seen, the Abolitionist, but he has that kind of, the fevered, marginalized, underdog journalist guy. Like, that's something that Ethan Hawke has in his bones. And so I think his performance carries it really nicely. I do agree it's a little bit overstuffed. The crime story is hard to follow and not that interesting to follow. What really drives the story is not solving the mystery of what happened to the Tim Blake Nelson character, who comes back in flashbacks once in a while to play the dead guy that Ethan Hawke is investigating. But it's sort of what new character is going to come out of the woodwork, what new wrinkle of, the Tulsa underworld or the Tulsa elite is going to appear in the next episode to be interesting and craggy and strange. So if that's something that appeals to you, I would give this show a watch. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a Reservation Dogs, which had this kind of simplicity, just and a forward movement. You never questioned whether you were going to watch the next episode of Reservation Dogs. And here I find myself thinking, do I want to keep going?
Yeah, I had such a funnily mixed experience of this show, which is I was completely not on board for about the first hour and a half and thought, this isn't working for me. It is overstuffed. It's totally unfocused. The mystery is uninteresting. I find Ethan Hawke's performance at times captivating, at other times like too much and like mannered and self-conscious. What I liked about it from the beginning, I did love the keep Tulsa weird vibe of it, because Tulsa is not a keep Tulsa weird. Like, you don't, like, it's not like Portland or Austin. Like, there's, to the best of my knowledge, there's no big mythology that surrounds Tulsa as a very offbeat, fringy, city with a lot of indie energies. And you certainly get introduced to that Tulsa, which I love. And I love those subcultures in cities that are not only not known for them, but whose grain cuts very hard against them. And I like that it leaned into that aspect of it right from the first scene of the movie. I thought the ensemble is very strong by and large. But I just thought it was going to overwhelm me with my total lack of interest in the genre plot. And then, Julia, is it episode 3?
No.
Oh, we have a different one.
Maybe we have different characters. Okay, tell me who yours is.
So I'm watching this TV show, and there's a kind of backwoods crime lord, like, almost has a Louisiana Bayou vibe to him around this lake in Tulsa. And he's shirtless and sort of grotesque. And I'm like, this is a compelling character. This is really interesting. I'm going with this scene. Suddenly there's like a kind of, the genre aspect of it has a real pulse from that moment on when that guy is on screen. The writing suddenly tightens. There's an extraordinary set piece that suddenly places you within a successfully realized thriller, mystery thriller. And it ends at the end of episode 3 with a wonderful cliffhanger, like a beautifully delivered cliffhanger. I was like, that all was marvelous. And at the center of it is, is that fucking John Doe of the band X, famous also for playing the guy who's stealing from the till in the original Roadhouse. That's fucking John Doe, one of my favorite musicians, not really known for being an actor, even less of an actor, I think, generally than, like, for example, Tom Waits has become. And he's so good. And I thought, I'm all in. I fucking love this thing. And also the whole comic sequence, right? The whole sequence where, I don't want to give too much away, but suddenly Ethan Hawke is forced to play Scheherazade in order to save his own fucking skin in that scene. Hawke, his comic, like his japing, his eyes, the look of like total fear, existential fear in his eyes as he has to produce. Like, everyone makes fun of him for being a writer, and in this moment, it's actually going to fucking save him. I thought that whole bit was wonderful, and now I'm completely in. There's no doubt in my mind I'm going to watch it to the end.
Wow. Okay. All right. I liked that sequence. Okay. I like Hawke's relationship with his daughter too, which is the third episode.
Yeah, really nice.
So like she, she's more on the straight and narrow, and she's annoyed by her no good dad, but she is also curious about what animates him to live in the wild way that he does, that causes him to get beat up all the time, and that there's like a genuineness in that. And I think that actress both seems like a young actress, like you can picture her at her school when she learned that she got the part or something. Like she doesn't quite disappear into it, but she is also very charismatic and good, I think. No, the performance that I really liked was Scott Shepherd, our buddy from Elevator Repair Service that staged Gats, who plays Alan, the one of the baddies, the fleece-vested baddie. Which I love that this is a show that has a fleece-vested baddie. That's a funny idea. And he just has no tomfoolery to him. And literally every other character in the whole goddamn thing is like got 20 crenellations of tomfoolery all over them. And there's something about him showing up and playing it so straight.
If it were 2011... we would go back and retitle this show Crenellated Tomfoolery.
Like it's sort of a relief when he shows up because he's not like doing a shtick. I mean, I guess he's doing menacing fleece vest guy shtick, but he just seems more real than the rest of it because he's not so goofy. And then that makes the scariness that he represents feel like it has real weight, whereas the rest of the world feels a little balsa wood to me. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think you're right about Bad Monkey. In fact, we watched the first episode with my kids because we all watched Bad Monkey and like loved it together. It's a little darker and bloodier than that. And we didn't end up continuing watching it with them. It wasn't like a problem, but they just weren't that into it. It also reminds me a little bit of Poker Face, which I think I endorse season 2 of, and I find myself very charmed by, where it's like this, it's reality, but it's an alternate reality where everything's a little heightened and your main character is a little weird. And I found it to be slightly less successful than those two in terms of the reality, unreality version. But that Scott Shepherd performance, I mean, he shows up on screen, I'm like, is that the guy from Gats? And it is. And he's had a on-screen acting career with various interesting parts for the last while, so it's not that surprising. But I just loved that performance. And the broader plot of like, what are those guys up to and where is this all going does have some pull and intrigue for me.
All right, it's The Lowdown. It stars Ethan Hawke. It's on, find it on Hulu. It's one of those joint deals with FX. All right, let's move on.
Emmy Award winner Kerry Washington returns as Dr. Virginia Edwards in Audible's supernatural thriller The Prophecy, Season 2. This audiobook also stars Giancarlo Esposito, Dulé Hill, Renzi Felice, and Ebony Obsidian. In The Prophecy, Season 2, the battle between good and evil reaches new heights in a heart-pounding sequel that pushes the fate of humankind to the edge. Follow every twist and turn as Virginia and her miracle son Joshua flee from Detroit, pursued by the sinister Luther Bell and his Morning Stars cult. As natural disasters erupt, Virginia must embrace being both mother and chosen protector, but will it be too late? I know in my house there is rarely not an audiobook of some sort playing. We've kind of gotten to start sharing audiobooks now, so I'll listen to one that's great and pass it on to my husband and daughter. We also play audiobooks for my dog when we leave the house because we think it keeps her calm to hear the things that she's always hearing when we're home, which is somebody listening to an audiobook. So species of all kinds use this service in my household. If you're an Audible user as well, don't miss Kerry Washington in their new Must Listen, The Prophecy Season 2. To hear it, go to audible.com/prophecy2. That's the number 2, and start listening today. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue makes it easy to get creative with your personal style and find the best arrivals for fall. So I went to Saks.com for an accessory that I'm always in the mood to shop for, sunglasses. I love stylish sunglasses, particularly the classic kind of Jackie O-shaped, the big, like slightly oval, dark glasses. And it's a little luxury that, I can afford even when I'm trying not to shop. So I looked at some of the sunglasses on offer at Saks, and they've got all kinds of shapes, not only my favorite Jackie O's, but all kinds of fun cat eye shapes and different designer sunglasses. And just looking at them has been an inspiration for what sunglasses to pair with what outfits. But that's just my experience with Saks.com. There's so much more to explore based on your personal style and what you're looking for. So this fall, whether you're trying out the latest fashion trends or curating a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day.
Tilly Norwood is an AI-generated actress and Instagram personality. She was created by a company called Particle 6 and has been debuted in a video called AI Commissioner, which has been viewed hundreds of thousands of times. Of course, it raises all of the attendant questions, but the one that the company wants to ask is, well, why shouldn't an AI-generated quote-unquote actress or personality appear or even star in a Hollywood movie? Why don't we begin by listening to a clip from AI Commissioner? And I should say, it's not just that all of the actors and scenes are generated by artificial intelligence software. It was also written, what you're about to hear was written by ChatGPT. They don't quite come out and say it, but they're certainly trying to get you to believe that no human intervention was necessary to the making of this video. Make of that what you will. Let's listen.
We all knew TV was dead, but thought, why not squeeze in one last development meeting?
We had one rule. No missing children, no dead women, and no reboots of Heartbeat.
We'd pitched this beautiful comedy, two sisters running a funeral parlour in Margate. Warm, weird, very BBC Two.
The commissioner said no. AI generated 100 better ideas in minutes, perfectly aligned to channel data, viewing figures, and optimised for the audience. The winning AI format?
I know what you streamed last summer.
An interactive thriller built from your streaming history. And Deliveroo orders.
What? And who could forget the mental health format?
Britain's Got Breakdown. Audience votes on who gets therapy.
Okay, Dana. Well, this is a relevant topic already for us because we've talked about the strike, SAG-AFTRA, and the role that AI and the possibility of work being appropriated by AI or work being replaced by AI, I know is a negotiated feature of the contract that was finally arrived at. Nonetheless, it's hovering in the air, right? The relationship between human creativity images, the treasury of IP, of the cumulative treasury, the IP of creative endeavors of individuals of the past, how they're being harvested and used or misused. All of these were forefront of our mind when Tilly Norwood became our third topic. What'd you make as you dug into this?
I mean, I hope that you guys can help me see something more about this than what I do see, which is just a giant wave of hype with absolutely nothing behind it. I mean, what I kept thinking of with this, when Tilly went viral last week, which was essentially a plant, right? I mean, this company Particle 6 that made her up just made this announcement in order to ruffle these exact feathers and get these exact viral discussions happening. And, the pictures and videos of this fake girl were going all over the internet and people were talking about it. And I just kept thinking about the Noam Chomsky idea of manufacturing consent, which I remember trying to teach that to undergraduates. And I mean, honestly, if you were teaching the concept of manufacturing consent in 2025, you would have multiple, all you'd have to do is point at various media outlets. And it just strikes me that that is exactly what this is. Like, there's not really an AI actress that's going to be signed by agents. That's just a thing to say so that people will be alarmed at the possibility of that happening, to put fear, for some reason, to put fear into the entire entertainment industry and make everyone feel like they're replaceable and worthless. And I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, this is sort of like the wedge, the leading wedge of some larger attempt by AI and big tech. And I mean, I sound like the Ethan Hawke character on the Lowdown right now. But really, it just seems like Tilly Norwood is being dangled like a little shiny fish as bait to get people to talk about AI, get upset about AI, believe that AI is about to take away jobs that it is actually not about to take away because of the actors' strikes, right? And meanwhile, good for them, SAG-AFTRA stood up very strongly against this whole wave of hype and said, we already negotiated these rights in our strike 2 years ago, and, we're not going to be replaced by these actors. But maybe you guys can show me something else that's going on besides that. It just seemed to me like this was purely a way of making there be a visible, as you said, Steve, a pretty non-entity that you could dangle as a target to start these conversations.
Hell yeah, Dana. This is like such a transparent marketing ploy that it is annoying that the world got upset about it for a week. And I guess it's a testament to the capabilities of AI that it's a marketing ploy. I feel like I was going to suggest we use a different clip because that clip we played had nothing to do with Tilly Norwood, but it's actually appropriate because Tilly Norwood is literally just an attention-generating device to then teach you about this other company that wants you to know that it can scan whatever and come up with terrible ideas for shows about seeing which strangers should get therapy or whatever. Like, to get Deadline to publish, like a thing to understand about what Deadline does in Hollywood. Deadline is one of the trades. It's the one that publishes most frequently. It's the one that will publish most of what is sent to it most uncritically. So this company, which has a stake in attention, tells Deadline, we've got talent agents circling Tilly Norwood, this fake actress, quote unquote, that we made, basically like an AI generated series of images of the same pretty young girl looking like she might if she were real and were an actress. No fucking way. Why would you do that? The point of AI, there are probably many uses of AI in entertainment. It will likely replace editors and VFX artists and all kinds of people who were previously employed. And that is troubling and concerning. The point of it is to not create new stars. Like, why would you do that? The point is to save money and make things more efficient. Like, if you want a charismatic person, just have there be a person. And if you want a fake charismatic person, isn't the point of that you don't have to pay them very much? And so then why would they need a fucking agent to negotiate their fee? Like, the point would be to exploit them and their non-humanness and get them to do the work for free. And then why wouldn't every agency or studio just make their own Tilly Norwood rather than have there be a real fake Tilly Norwood that you would, like, if you're gonna go to the trouble of paying someone, why not pay a person? What would the agent do? Like, I don't know. It's just so fucking stupid. And, it does call attention to the broader tensions in this city and in this industry about what is happening with AI, which is expansive and serious and profound and likely to transform the economics of the industry and likely to transform a lot of what we see. I do not expect to see Tilly Norwood herself on any shows. I don't think we're going to see a ton of AI actors in any leading roles in anything anytime soon. I mean, other than animation, which we already see, and which is basically what she looks like in the images where she's moving. It's not like she looks like a real person, or it's not that photorealistic at the moment. So anyway, that's my take.
I thought I'll quote a couple of reactions to it I thought were provocative and quite interesting. One was Whoopi Goldberg on The View said, you're suddenly up as an actress, you're suddenly up against something that's been generated with 5,000 other actors. The point being is it's not only sort of grotesque and sinister and sort of uncanny valley and the obvious attractions to, I don't know, studio possibly or whatever, a person financing a movie that the labor's cheap, it's utterly reliable, the quote-unquote performer has no interiority or dignity to violate, on and on and on. I mean, there are all sorts of horrible places the mind can go once those things are, baked in. But in addition to that, it's stealing the creative work of past actors while then using their creativity to generate avatars that prevent you from needing to hire current and future actors. So it's like digging up graves in order to fill them with new bodies. There's something really grotesque about the ability to comb all of human creativity in order to create a thing that prevents creative humans from being able to work and fulfill their own vocation and sense of calling. There's also this way in which, right, the famous Silicon Valley bromide of, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, that you just do it, you break it. Like Uber, you go into a city, you just begin operating, you don't get the proper licensing or permissions, you become so big, finally you get noticed, and then they try to regulate you, but you're too big and you're too influential, and it doesn't happen. The point of that is to try to make a particular future, which is one of many possible futures, seem like an inevitability in order to completely short-circuit the individual and the democratic collective's ability to freely choose a common future, right? And so in that sense, it's like really fucking sinister because it's like, this is coming, which is how AI is always couched on the part of its proponents. This is coming. It is going to happen. It is totally inevitable, and therefore accept it. Like accept it. It's meant to produce a sort of benumbed docility in the face of a tsunami known as the future that is about to crash into you, and to try to push back against it is to somehow to deny a pre-existing reality, as opposed to exerting your own democratic autonomy in order to create a future that you do not find self-annihilating, right? And so in that sense, it's like really, really sickening. And the one thing I'd like to just quote is there have been a bunch of Robin Williams AI videos, including one really sort of gross one in which he, not him, the AI fake Robin Williams is talking to AI fake Philip Seymour Hoffman in this sort of faux wise way. And Robin Williams' daughter has come out and said, please just stop doing this. And I like what she said. She said, you're not making art, you're making disgusting, overprocessed hot dogs out of the lives of human beings, out of the history of art and music, and then shoving them down someone else's throat, hoping they'll give you a little thumbs up and like it. Gross. And for the love of everything, all caps, stop calling it the future. AI is just badly recycling and regurgitating the past to be reconsumed. You are taking in the human centipede of content, and from the very, very end of the line, while all the folks at the front laugh and laugh, consume and consume. I think...
Whoa, go Robin Williams' daughter. That's
exactly.
Beautifully written.
It was so good. It was so savage, and it was so fucking on point. I just standing O.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that, too, is that is not responding to the Tilly Norwoods of the world. It's responding to the kind of increasing capability of AI to do deep fakes. And the other news that came out this week is that OpenAI has launched Sora 2, which is a kind of video generator that has added sound and added other capabilities to the mix that various folks have started to play with, and that apparently does have fairly sophisticated capabilities. And I think, one of the things that's interesting there is that there are a lot of people betting that individuals will have fun playing with tools like that, that sort of making deep fakes or get, that it's not necessarily the technologists or the capitalists who are producing the Robin Williams videos. It's like people who are like, wouldn't it be cool if you could see what Robin Williams and Philip Seymour Hoffman would say to each other, right? And it's going to put some of those tools in people's hands. So I think the flip side of that savage rant is that part of what these tools might do is give people who do not actually have the years of experience and creative skill that it takes to make art genuinely, the power to make a simulacrum of art that is much more interesting and persuasive and compelling than what you could do yourself with no skills and a pencil and a piece of paper. And the way in which AI is going to make us into creators, I think, will be its own lure that will maybe be harder to resist than the temptations of Tilly Norwood.
I mean, it's certainly very sunny spin to think that people are going to be all excited to make their own artworks when it seems to me the absolute immediate application of here's your own deep fake maker machine is going to be pornography and, creating all kinds of blackmailable fake images of, to me, it's almost like Silk Road, that dark web site where you could get drugs or human trafficking or whatever. Like, how can this not be used for evil purposes at the moment it's released?
Yeah, like crypto, all of it. I mean, it's just, and it's going to be a misinformation bonanza, from which we might not recover. As I said, this is a dialogue we're going to be having often to infinity, really. So we'll be revisiting this and related subjects as the sinister shit comes down the pike. All right, let's move on.
Life can get a little crazy at times. If you're looking for a natural way to unwind, one that can also relieve aches and discomfort, then it might be time to try CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp. Cornbread Hemp was nice enough to send me a sample of their CBD gummies, some for sleep, some for daytime. I was saving the sleep endorsements for you, Steve, because I know you're a bad sleeper. So I'm curious how you responded to those. But I did try their daytime sort of focus gummies. It's always hard to tell what makes you focus or not focus on a given day. And as I mentioned last time I talked about these, I tried to make my day very normal otherwise, so that it was sort of like a scientific experiment, like normal amount of coffee, normal amount of sleep. But I think I did have a little more relaxation and focus on that day. Cornbread Hemp only uses the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. It's formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. All their products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. And right now, Culture listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/culture and use the code CULTURE at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/culture, code CULTURE.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, just hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill, too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
All right, now is the moment in our podcast when we endorse Dana. What do you have?
Well, I was actually inspired during our AI conversation to add something to my endorsement. So I'm going to endorse 2 articles, but I'll make it really fast. It's going to be just the same length as a one thing endorsement, I promise our producer. So the first one is the one I was inspired by during our AI conversation. It was a piece on N+1 that came out, I believe, last week called Large Language Muddle. That's really the best thing I've read on generative AI and LLMs and all of these things that we keep returning to having depressing conversations about. This goes further and deeper than a conversation I would be able to have as somebody who doesn't know the history of the technology as well. And is also, in a way, I think, Julia, something of a pushback against what you endorsed last time you were on the show. Not this specific piece, although it's mentioned within it, but the kind of piece that Megan O'Rourke wrote for the New York Times Magazine, I think it was, about her own experience kind of experimenting with AI, which I also recommend. It's a super interesting piece. This N+1 article is sort of bundling up those kind of personal response articles that people have written about their own experiences with AI. And is sort of problematizing, do they or do they not fall into that exact problem of manufactured consent that we were just talking about? Is there a sort of passive resignation of, well, the future's here, so I might as well submit to it and experiment with it? And it goes to some really interesting places and is just a very powerful polemic. So large language model on N+1. And the other one, because we almost talked this week, we talked about talking about Anemone, which is the new Daniel Day-Lewis movie, his return to the big screen for the first time since Phantom Thread and since he announced that he was retiring from acting. He's now in a movie called Anemone, directed by his own son. I haven't seen the movie yet, but Isaac Butler used that movie as an excuse to write a long, beautiful deep dive into Daniel Day-Lewis's whole career on Slate. It's called The Method to Daniel Day-Lewis's Madness. And I'm not even done with it yet because it really does dig into his whole career, his process, his famously method-like way of digging into his characters. And I'm learning a lot and can't wait to see Anemone now. So that's it. Along with the large language model on N+1, read The Method to Daniel Day-Lewis's Madness by Isaac on Slate.
Oh, I'd love to read that. Julia, what do you have?
I always really try to offer the tidbit that is like the most fun or transcendent cultural experience I've had in the last stretch of time since I last recorded. And so in the spirit of intellectual honesty, I am going to recommend going to the Coal Oil Point Preserve in Isla Vista, California. It's just north of Santa Barbara and Goleta. It's, I think, near the UCSB campus and maybe even is UC land. I think it's like a preserve that's used for scientific research for the UC system. But I had occasion to go for a little, 90-minute walk there. It was an insanely birding paradise. I saw fluffy little snowy plovers and gorgeous hawks of multiple stripes and birds twittering and chittering all over the place. And it was just a perfect little marshland walk. And I had never been there, and I'm glad I went. The Coal Oil Point Preserve, just north of Santa Barbara on the California coast.
That sounds wonderful. I'm going to endorse one thing and then ask listeners about another. I'm going to endorse an essay in the London Review of Books called Computers That Want Things by the writer James Meek, as in shall inherit the earth. Meek is just one of those writers who every time I begin reading a paragraph or two of an essay in the London Review, and I think, God damn, who did this? And I've checked the byline. It turns out many times to be James Meek. He's just an extraordinary writer. He's a novelist. I'm about to read his fiction very eagerly, writer of essays and nonfiction. Let me just give you some of the setup. He said, it seems important to remember that existing iterations of AI can't do this. They can't care. The chatbot doesn't not care like a human not caring. It doesn't care like a rock doesn't care or a glass of water. AI doesn't want anything, but this is bound to change. And so he's taking on some of the more intelligent theories about AI eventually developing something so like a consciousness, or at least analogous enough to human consciousness that it'll be able to have artificial desire, is the term of art that's being thrown around. And Meek is hardly a proponent of this at all. In fact, he writes, if anything, neutrally about it until he can't any longer, and then brings you face to face with the moral consequences of it in the essay. But it's just beautifully done. It's masterful. It's terrific. And here's the question that I'm throwing out. So I've asked our listeners about their relationship to Bolaño, who I discovered for the first time, the wonderful genre writer Donna Leone, who I've discovered now for the first time. I decided equally spontaneously, just the same way in a used bookstore. It's like, I've always wanted to read Thomas Bernard. I hear that name. I've never read it. I know very little about him. And I picked Gargoyles off the shelf, paid my $5. And now I'm like 2/3 of the way through it. It went very fast. And it's like, Bernard he's Austrian. He was born in early 1930s. So he was a very, very young person during the war, the Holocaust. And has lived with its aftermath as someone who didn't participate directly in it, in prosecuting its atrocities because he was too young, but he wasn't like the Hitler Youth as in Austria, and he had to be. And so is this sense of like reckoning and guilt, and it's filled with some of the same kind of dread that I found in Bolaño, but on a totally different scale. Bolaño in 2666 is huge, sprawling, kind of omnivorous work of fiction, like kind of like Gothic sublime or something, whereas there's something much smaller and down to earth and face to face about the dread that the Bernard stand-in character in Gargoyles is encountering as he goes on the rounds, medical rounds of his father, who's a doctor in a small kind of county-like community somewhere in Austria. Anyway, I'm just curious what people's experience of Bernard is, whether where they started, where they ended up, what they read. I guess, is it The Loser, I think, is one of his big ones. There are a couple of others. But so far, so good. He's an extraordinary writer. So Gargoyles by Thomas Bernard, as well as the James Meek essay. All right, Dana, thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.
It was fun, though. You'll find links to some of the things we talked about today at our show page. That's at slate.com/culturefest. And you can email us at culturefest@slate.com. The introductory music to our podcast is by Nicholas Bertel. Our production assistant is Daniel Hirsch. Our producer is Benjamin Frisch. For Dana Stevens and Julia Turner, I'm Stephen Metcalf. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you soon.
This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue makes it easy to get creative with your personal style and find the best arrivals for fall. So I went to Saks.com for an accessory that I'm always in the mood to shop for, sunglasses. I love stylish sunglasses, particularly the classic kind of Jackie O-shaped, the big, like slightly oval, dark glasses. And it's a little luxury that, I can afford even when I'm trying not to shop. So I looked at some of the sunglasses on offer at Saks, and they've got all kinds of shapes, not only my favorite Jackie O's, but all kinds of fun cat eye shapes and different designer sunglasses. And just looking at them has been an inspiration for what sunglasses to pair with what outfits. But that's just my experience with Saks.com. There's so much more to explore based on your personal style and what you're looking for. So this fall, whether you're trying out the latest fashion trends or curating a closet that stands the test of time, Saks has you covered. If you want shopping to be fun and easy, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan. $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.